In this video, we're going to do an overview of the colour page in DaVinci Resolve. Thank you to everyone who's commented so far and requested this page. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get to it. So here we are on the colour page, and I have some clips lined up ready for us to look at. Camera raw. Now, if you're shooting in raw footage, this is where you can enter the settings. Colour match is where you need a special colour card for, and if you're shooting with different cameras, this is really handy. And colour wheels, this is where you're using it a lot. So if you look at the waveform on the right, if I use offset, which changes the whole image, you see that the whole waveform is being lifted up and down. Now lift, gamma and gain, they do with different forms. So gain, for example, deals with highlights. So look at the top, and that changes just the highlights. Gamma changes the mid-range, mid-tones. So again, you can see this is being stretched here. And lift is for the shadows at the bottom. So that is what these different parts are doing. Now, as well as changing the overall wavelength, you can change individual colors. So if we look at one example here, so look at the reds, for example, under gain. So I'm changing just the one color within each band. So if I look at the lift, so the shadows, this is where you see the bottom is changing. Now, if we go on to the colour bars, that's pretty much exactly the same thing. So log wheels is where you've got a more refined use for each colour. Offset, again, deals with everything. And you've got shadows, midtones and highlights. Now, as you can see, when I change one of them now, it's just changing either highlights or just the midtone or just the shadows. So you have a more refined use for each individual change here. So that's why log wheels are good if you want just to change something very slightly. Now, going on to high dynamic range, again, colour wheels just with a more refined use. RGB mixer is where you can change specific colours, so either red, green or blue. So if I change red, you see that the green is being changed here. And finally, blue output, you'll see that changing one of these changes the blue. Next, on to motion effects. Now, if you've got any slow motion, speed changes, this is where you can change them. And curves. So curves and colour wheels are the ones you'll be using the most. So staying on curves, if I pick an example, I'm going to click on qualifier and click on here, and this is what I'm going to be trying to change within curves. So curves custom, this is where everything is changed overall. Hue versus hue is where it changes the colour. So if you look at the image, you'll see that changing this changes the colour of the grass that we've selected. Hue versus saturation changes the intensity of the colour. Saturation is intensity of the colour. And then luminescence is the brightness. So if you look at that, if I change this up, you'll see that this is changing the brightness of the colour. So hue on the left is the subject, what's been changed, and then the one on the right, luminescence, that is what's been changed about it. Now going on to colour warper, again, this is really nice, and if you look at the image, I'm just going to drag it up. You see the grass, because again the grass is selected. I'm changing it to each of these points, and you'll see that the grass is changing colour according to where it's been done, because the grass has been selected under qualifier just here. So I'm going to reset that now. So the grass is not selected. Now going on to window. Now again, window is something I think you'll use quite a lot. So I'm going to use window and hold it over me, just on the swing there. Now if I go back to colour wheel and scroll on the offset wheel all the way to the left, you'll see that the square with me is getting darker. But if I go back and select this button, you see everything else is changed. So I'm now highlighted. So this is very useful for highlighting objects that you need to. Now, if I go on to track it, again, if this is moving, it's very handy to track something. And going on to the blur, if you lift this up, you see everything outside the square that I'm selected in is being blurred. And if I put it all the way down, the contrast increases. So again, really nice and handy if you want to select different things. So that's the blur option. And key, this just shows you where something's masked. So I've left the window on, and that just shows you where it's masked. Going on to sizing. Now this is really useful if you want to change the size. So if I go, for example, to rotate under output sizing, you'll see that everything has been changed. Now that's just because I've selected this option, which I'll go through detail in other videos. So those are all the options on there. 3D I can't show you at the minute. Now key, this is handy if you want to have something in color, say, and then change it to black and white partway through. So it's keyframes just as you'd use on the edit tab. Now, the scopes are very useful for really balancing out the color and brightness in each image. And again, you've got lots of different options here. I've done one on vector scope before, but I'll do individual videos on each of these different options. If I go to the top right now, timeline, it's pretty much just your timeline as in the edit one that you can scroll through. I don't really use it on this page. Nodes is the other useful thing to use on this page, and you'll be using this quite a lot once you get used to it. So if I just take one example here, I'm going to whack the contrast right up, and if I right click, you can node label. Now this is really handy when you start to use lots of different nodes. You can label them so you can tell the differences between them. So I'm going to add another node, add node, I'm going to add serial node. As you can see, there are lots of different ones. Again, we'll go through these in different videos. And in this one, I'm going to change the green. So in this particular one, I'm going to change the color and whack the color right up. So again, if I go change node, label, and I'm going to color this green. So again, you can label different ones, and it's useful to have them in different nodes because then you can turn them on and off, and just as with layers when you're doing Photoshop or anything like that, you can see what it looks like with different layers. Now top left is gallery. So if I double click on this, so if say this was like a nice film grain I wanted to match, you can go here to see how it looks. So you can try and use this to match up and swipe across to see if you match your different footage. Now if you wanted everything to be like this one on the top left, this red one, if you just drag it across, as you can see, this has now changed this footage that is selected. Now as you see, some clips I've flagged. So if I go to clips and go down to flagged clips and select blue, this will highlight all of the flagged clips. Now just say I want everything to have this red effect color or whatever effect I've had to this. If I hold shift, highlight them all, right click on the one I want and then click apply grade, this has applied that effect to all of these clips, which is really handy. So, if you have a look around the three, you'll see there's a nice colour wheel around it. That shows that it's had an effect applied to that particular clip. So if you right click, you can go reset and get rid of the colour on one particular clip. I've got rid of the colour in all these clips just for this example. Now LUTs are lookup tables. This is where you've got, for example, a nice film effect or effect you want to, a colour effect you want to add to everything. So that's where you could do that. Media pool, again, you don't really need that. That's just where your clips are. Effects, that is not just colours. That is, for example, blur, lens blur, anything like that. So lots of different effects, pre-made effects that you can add. And again, we'll go through those in different videos. And finally, Lightbox. This is where you can have a look at your footage overall. So if there's a particular look or feel you want to get through the footage, as you can see on the left, you can select between different clips. This is a nice overview so you can see everything in one area to make sure that it's all lining up properly. And there you have it. There's an overview of the colour page. I hope this has been useful. As I said, it's a bit much to go through all in one, so I'll do individual small videos to show you how to use each of these options in turn. If there's anything else you'd like me to do, just please comment below, and I'll see you next time.